In those days, in the 30s, very few women worked. The vast majority of the workforce were male. During the Depression, the men would be sitting on the stoop, on the steps all day long, smoking those Italian cigars. That's all they did. They were like part of the building. And I thought that was normal. And as soon as the war started, they were gone. They went away to war, they got jobs. And there were no more men sitting around in the neighborhood.
That's interesting. So
the women were going to work. When the war came, a lot of the boys went into the service, but they only got, you know how much they paid the boys when they were drafted in the war? $21 a month.
Oh my God.
That's how much they got at the beginning of World War II.
Let me ask you a question. Do you remember Pearl Harbor?
No.
Do you remember?
I was 10 years old. I don't remember Pearl Harbor. I don't remember. I remember when Corregidor fell because I thought that was going to be, then I began to worry that we were going to lose the war. And I thought, oh my God, we're going to lose the war. And I was in the 6th grade by that time. 6A, the beginning of the 6th grade. And I remember thinking that we were going to lose.
Do you
but
remember?
They didn't. I knew more than the other kids did because my parents followed it very, very closely. And I knew what was going on, but I didn't know, and I knew more than the other kids, but I didn't know a lot.
Did you know about Hiroshima?
Well, that was later. That was 5 years later.
Well, you were, yeah, but I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
But you don't remember, you don't have memories around hearing about it?
And I remember this. I went by the garage one day, which was right on the block where we lived. And my father had a German customer. He kicked him out of the garage.
Oh my God.
And the guy was protesting, and my father was screaming bloody murder, this poor bastard. And he got him just out.
What was he screaming?
I don't know. My father had a bad temper. They didn't come to blows, but they almost did.
Oh my God.
My father wasn't afraid of anything.
I'm glad for the Germans' sake that they didn't come to blows.
Yeah, my father was a very strong guy.
Yeah.
But he was only about 5, 6, or 7.
Oh.
But he was built like a truck, you know.
I know, I remember.
And he had a terrible, terrible temper. Yeah. He hit me once when he got mad on the arm, right here. And there were indentations in my arm for about 5 hours after he hit me, for the rest of the day.
Oh my God.
They were indented into my arm and they wouldn't go away.
And did you know, I mean, did you put 2 and 2 together that maybe your family, you know, your father's family?
I knew that my family was in Poland. And I knew my father never talked about it.
Did you notice?
And I knew that they died because one day he was crying. He came home. He was standing up in the apartment, and my mother was trying to console him. He was crying. And I deduced from that. It was from that. And I think it was. I mean, they never talked about it. I snuck into so many games that I saw all the ball clubs.
So you saw Babe Ruth play?
I'm the only person you ever knew that saw him play, because all the others are dead.
Do you remember it?
I'll tell you how I saw him play. I went to the Yankee Stadium, and I saw the Cleveland Indians play the New York Yankees. This was around 1943. So I was 12 or 13 years old. And the manager of the Cleveland Yanks was Babe Ruth. I mean, you know, they made him the manager probably just to get people to come to the game.
Yeah. So he
Well,
wasn't playing. If he was the manager, he wasn't playing then.
He wasn't playing.
Oh.
But at the end of the game, or in the later innings, they put him in as a pinch hitter. I don't know of anything I ever saw. You don't know anybody who saw many more things, athletic things, than I did when I was a kid. So I used to go to everything.
Well, how was he? How did he play well?
I'll tell you how he was. He pinched hit it. He didn't play. He pinched hit it for somebody. They put him in as a pinch hitter. He was a left-handed batter. He got up. It was unbelievable what a throw it was. I mean, how many people can actually say they saw Babe Ruth play in the major league? I'm the only one left.
That's amazing. But wait, did
he
hit it?
They pitched to him. He swung at 2 pitches, missed by a mile, but he swung and missed was more exciting than watching any other batter. He swung all around and landed on the ground.
That's great.
I mean, it was unbelievable. The crowd loved it. I loved it. I still remember it. And then they walked him.
That's awesome.
He could barely make it to first base. So he got to first base and is on first base. And the next guy up hit a ground ball or something, and he ran from first to second. And I think then they got a pinch runner and he left the game. I saw the first, I think it was the first Transcontinental Radio show where they had people from New York and people from Los Angeles, and they broadcasted it as if they were all in the same studio. It was the Edgar Bergen, Charlie McCarthy show. And I took a friend of mine, I had tickets to it. We went down to the RCA building. We got in to see it. There weren't that many people there in the studio. And I think it was the first broadcast of that kind in history. You know, where it was a transcontinental, they were doing it remotely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not sure they did any of those before this one. But I was there. We used to go to the World's Fair. I went a number of times. My father would take us down there. It was an unbelievable thing. I mean, we had never seen anything like it. We saw television for the first time. This was in 1939. And all it was they would televise people coming into where the fair was, and you could see yourself on TV. It was amazing. And you could do things and it would be up on the screen. Well, they never had that before.
Yeah, that must have been.
And nobody at that time had a TV set. I don't even know if there were any TV sets that you could buy, but nobody we know had one. And but I saw myself on television.
But then do you remember when, when people started getting televisions in their homes, were you guys one of the first ones to get them? Or like?
We got one pretty early, but I don't know if the first people to get television were the TV repair shops. As soon as television came out, there was on almost every block in the Bronx, every neighborhood, there was a TV store. So they sold the TV sets in TV stores, and the guys that sold the sets would repair them. And they had these huge sets. They were usually table models, but they were big. They were like this. The screens were like that.
Wow.
Little screen. I'm not exaggerating.
No, I know.
That's how big the screens were.
That's incredible. So you remember that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. The screens were tiny. And nobody had a set. We didn't have a set at that point, and most of the people didn't have sets. The vast majority, I don't know anybody had a set early on, but whenever there was a fight or some big event, there would be a TV set in the window of the TV store, and you could stand at the window and see the fight. So I saw the Billy Conn, Joe Louis fight. I remember if it was the first, I think it was the second fight. I think the first fight was before the war, and the second fight was after the war. And I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. And I saw the second fight in a TV store window in some neighborhood TV store,
Right.
little store. Well, I was gone early. I mean, when I was 16, I think my parents were already divorced. So I was gone because my mother, she didn't tell me when to come home. I came home whenever I felt like it. And I was on my own pretty much. On my own as far as what I could do.
Did your father?
I had no supervision. That's the way I felt. I had no supervision whatsoever.
Well,
Nobody.
wait, let me ask you a question. Did you,
That's why I'm like this. That's why I'm like this. That's why I'm such a fucking mess. I had no supervision. All the other kids did, but I didn't.
Yeah, nice try.